Oh, yeah! Oh,
Did you just take a shit?
oh, it feels so good. Oh man. All over the Flyers. Oh man, Jacob, do you know what time it is?
It is 7:31 here on the Central Standard Time Zone.
Right. On April 18th, 2014. Oh man, it is also that glorious time. Playoff hockey and the MLB season, but playoff
hockey more important.
Oh yeah, crack open your favorite beverage, put a piece of steak on a stick, and get in your lazy boy. Oh, this feels so good, yeah. Oh. Well, I didn't think I could create a more awkward opening than I did on Tuesday, but it appears I topped myself.
I think you just did.
My good man, sir.
Yes.
Are the Blues and the Hawks still playing? Because I think they might be.
They could potentially be, but it's not on TV, so I'm going to have to say no.
Alright, well, I hear that they have this really good player. He likes to put the puck in the net.
Wait, are we talking Blues or Hawks?
We're talking, well, both, but Blues. Like his father used to be, a pro. And
Brett Hull.
God, that's a good guess, but I think he's like 50 by now.
Yeah, Hull's getting up there.
Yeah. Steen, I think his name. He
Alexander Steen.
Yes, the partial Jew.
The partial Jew. I mean, the only thing that's Jew about him has got to be his nose. I mean, have you seen the size of his beak?
Yes.
It's huge.
I'm looking at it right now. Sir, when I saw Alexander Steen popping the G to win it for the Blues in Game 1, which was really, if you want to be technical, it was Game 2. So it was the third overtime period.
It was the third overtime period.
Do you think that should count as 2 victories? I mean, they did play 2 games.
Well, technically they didn't play 2 games. They played 5 periods and then 32 seconds of the 6th, which should be the third period of the second game.
Right, but they had already played into the second game.
No, because I feel like the second game has to be completed in order for it to count for 2 games.
So to count as 1 game, you need to play at least 60 minutes?
Yes, and then for it to count 2 games, you have to play at least 120 minutes.
Alright. The Hawks, you hear that, Hawks? You got lucky.
Yeah, Blues got lucky in that game.
Now, what were your thoughts when Patrick Kane remembered how to score on a breakaway?
My thoughts were, damn, I liked this kid a lot better when he was on Team USA.
Even though he couldn't score on a breakaway?
Even though he couldn't score on a breakaway, I liked him a hell of a lot better when he was on Team USA.
But what about that great attempt by Ryan Miller, by which he just stood there, dumbfounded?
I mean, Kane froze him. There's not much a goaltender can do when Kane has so much time and the Blues defense just breaks down to the point where Taves can make a stretch-long pass, hit him perfectly on the tape with plenty of room in order for him to go one-on-one with Miller. I mean, I don't blame Miller for that at all. That's totally our defense's fault, and Kane just with his, I mean, he's a fantastic shootout, fantastic in shootouts and breakaways, and as a goaltender, you don't want to make the first move. You want the player to make the first move so you can react to that, and Kane just ripped one without even And he hit the
Linking.
puck so well. Exactly. He's just like, I'm going to shoot now. And there was nothing Miller could do because as soon as Kane even went for the shot, it was already off his stick and heading into the 5-hole.
I don't want to give a playoff goalie that much leeway. Sorry, it's playoffs. You only get 3 losses to work with in a series. You can't be giving up goals like that. You can't be frozen. Especially when you are Brian Miller. You don't get to be frozen. Sorry. Come out, make a move, force an issue, do something. But the only goals that were worse that we saw this opening week of the NHL playoffs were, the goals that were allowed by Lindback on Weiss and Brizgalov on, thank you, as well as, and I'm going to throw in, what was the other game? Oh, Bobrovsky, sorry. When Bobrovsky let in Sutter's goal, they were all off their angle, and they let in a goal through their right armpit. All of them. Yeah. You don't get to do that. Sorry, not an option.
I mean, I think the worst one, I actually think that wasn't even Miller's worst goal of the game. The worst one was the first goal that the Hawks scored where it hits his pad, bounces down, and then threw his 5-hole into the back of the net.
Really? You don't think that was just bad luck?
I mean, I think if it hits your pad, you should stop it.
Well, I do always say if you get your hands on it, you should catch it.
Exactly. It's sort of the same thing. If it hits your pad, you should have it down on the ice so that way it doesn't squeeze through like that.
All right. Well, I'm going to leave my final point on that in that I can't seem to pull up that exact goal on NHL.com, but the way I remember it is that there was some bad luck involved. Sorry.
I mean, that's fine. It's whatever.
All right, but since we're still talking about the Blues, before we move on to the rest of the Western Conference, let's finish off with our overall thoughts of that game. Why don't you start, Blues boy?
Ryan Miller let in 3 goals on 7 shots in the first period, which is absolutely horrifying. Because, first of all, the defense only let in 7 shots, and then 3 of them found the back of the net, which is awful. But, like I said, I think Miller's goal where it hits his pad, I think that's the only goal that he's really accounted for because it was more so a breakdown on defense than anything that led to the other 2 goals. And that was the biggest thing that I saw was that the Blues defense was completely out of sorts. They were not keeping their head on swivels. They were just letting guys find open ice, and the Hawks were able to pass it and hit it right away. And so I think the first period, I don't know what it was. It might have been pre-playoff jitters. Don't really know. But the defense was not good. And for the rest of the game, the defense got better, but it still wasn't the kind of defense that the Blues are used to playing and Blues fans are used to seeing. Because that game could have easily gone to the Hawks in regulation. There was just a couple of chances that they missed, or stuff like Max Lapierre standing in the middle of the net and taking one off the chest after it gets past Miller.
Oh my God. I rewound that for 10 full minutes. And I watched it on slow-mo with my buddy.
Yeah. I mean, that's like, hats off to Max Lapierre for doing that, because that literally saved the game. And on the offensive side for the Blues, it was a pretty good game, but I felt like there were times where the Blues were just holding onto the puck for that extra second and I don't think they got enough pucks to the net, and they missed the net way too many times. I think the final tally was something like 32 missed shots. And I think that's just ridiculous on how many, they had like something like 50 shots and 32 more missed the net, which is absolutely ridiculous. So I think it might just me being hard on my playoff team, but I think that there's definitely much room to improve on. And I think that it'll come with getting more healthy players, but I definitely think that there's room for improvement for the Blues, and it might have just been early playoff jitters, but hopefully they can settle down, and so that way that we don't have the emotional driven game of 3 overtimes next time.
Well, it's tough to say any better than that, buddy, to be quite honest. So I'll only add that I thought that the Blackhawks came out ready to kill, and the Blues did not. But as the game went along, the Blues were able to sufficiently counter and create their own offense. They got some good luck with LaPierre's block in particular.
Uh-huh.
They got some good luck with, what's his name? Number 79.
Cracknell.
Thank you.
He played a hell of a game.
Yeah, he did. He got some good luck with his goal, and that's gonna happen. Both things are gonna happen if you're gonna be successful. Over the course of the game, the Blues constricted and countered the Blackhawks with more efficiency. And if that's what they're gonna do to the Blackhawks, man, this game might be over in 3.
I agree.
Alright, well, let's move on to the Avalanche and the Wild. Sir, I was still watching the Blackhawks and the Blues while this was going on.
As was I.
Yeah, because, I was watching, obviously I focused fully on the Ranger game, and then during commercials and such, I would flip over to the Blues, and I watched a little bit of the Colorado-Minnesota series, but the other 2 games took precedence. So, when I heard that Minnesota went up 4-2, I'm like, alright, Minnesota won game 1. And no, they did not.
No, they did not.
This was such a pleasure to watch the last 5 minutes of regulation and into overtime. And I was still flipping back and forth between this and St. Louis, Chicago by this time. But I was really tempted to focus solely on Colorado, Minnesota. That game had so much more tempo, so much more desperation. Both teams were doing a really good job of allowing the other one to get a really good opportunity to score. And then Colorado eventually did. I hope that we see more of this, to be quite honest. What about you?
Yeah, I was full attention on Blues Hawks. I did not change the channel except for intermissions. But basically, as soon as the Hawks Blues game was over, I immediately flipped over to Colorado, Minnesota because it went to overtime. And so I was watching that in the game. And from what I saw, it really looked like that Colorado kind of clawed their way back into the game.
Yep.
And as soon as we went to overtime, all the momentum was with the Avs. And Minnesota was caught back on their heels. And then Paul Stastny just rips a shot past Briz. And I said, as soon as I saw that, I was like, wow, Briz really wants that one back. It just did not look like a clean goal. And it took me a couple seconds to even see that Stastny, it looked like Briz saved it. And all of a sudden, everybody's hands go up, lights start flashing. I was like, wait, that actually went in? And then I had to wait to see the replay for it to see that it snuck in under his armpit. And it was just like, wow. So I thought that it was a big win for the Avs, and I think that kind of win, especially being down 4-2 in the third and being able to crawl back and win 5-4 in overtime. I mean, I don't want to say it's too late for Minnesota, but that's a big swing of momentum to carry into game 2 and 3 and probably 4. This one could be over a lot earlier than people thought about because of that win in game 1.
Eric Johnson has the play of the year so far. And
yes, that save on that empty net. Oh, I mean, good for him. That save. I mean, obviously it saved the game for him.
But what else needs to happen for Eric Johnson for that to be a eulogized, a seminal moment? Like just like, cause you know what it reminded me of was the Jeter flip.
In 2001 against the A's?
Yes, thank you.
You're welcome.
That's what it reminded me of. Like, what are you doing here? And oh my God, you did your job that nobody expected you to be able to do.
Yeah.
And holy crap.
Yeah, I think that it's Eric Johnson is, at least in my eyes, he's seen as a number 1 overall bust. Because he just, I don't know, he's never lived up to the hype that a number one overall draft pick should, i.e. Crosby and McKinnon and things like that.
We gotta come back to McKinnon when we're done with this.
Yeah. But yeah, I think that that play is, that play will be remembered for a while, but again, it wasn't like he kind of scored a game-winning overtime goal, but I don't know. It might be remembered for a while, but it also could just be an afterthought in a few years, because I think people are going to more remember Paul Stastny's game-tying goal and game-winning goal more so than Eric Johnson saving the empty net, because honestly, people remember the offense more than they remember the defense.
That's true. That's true. And that's why I went with the Jeter flip as opposed to, like the Gregory Campbell.
Shot block?
Yeah, I guess that's what you would call it. Like, I was trying to find another adverb, but.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know. Cause like, nobody remembers like an amazing like pad stacking save in order to save the game. You know what I mean? Nobody
do,
remembers
except
that.
for the fact that I lived through the Dominik Hasek era.
See, yeah, but at least, I lived through it too, but I don't remember a specific instance where Dominik Hasek sprawling pads saved a playoff game. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, I remember him as that kind of sprawling top of a goalie.
Me too. But I mean, like, that's the thing I'm trying to say is like, okay, let me put it like this. Nobody's gonna remember Max Lapierre standing behind Ryan Miller and taking the shot next year. Nobody's gonna remember that. What they're gonna remember is they're gonna remember Alex Steen putting the net in 3 overtime, or Alex Steen stripping Jonathan Quick to bury the empty netter last year. Like, that's the kind of stuff people remember. They don't remember the guy going down and blocking an empty net shot. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. And Lapierre and to a different but much fuller extent, Eric Johnson have made the 2 most important plays of the year. And hey, Stamkos is up there. I don't know if you saw the overtime, but Stamkos had a pass that was coming to him intercepted by Vanek. And Vanek was off to the races on his forehand side. And Stamkos came back and parried him right as he was going to shoot. And listen, I don't have a lot of confidence in Lindback, so I'm going to say, Vanek probably wins that war. But the shot never even really got off because Stammer was back and parrying him. Like, that, of itself. Oh my God. And, it comes from Stamkos and all that Stamkos is, and now the captain.
Yeah, that's something I want to actually talk about, was that I watched a decent amount, not a decent amount, a little bit of game 1 of Tampa and Montreal. Mm-hmm. And the one play I remember from that game is, I don't know who it was, but Andrei Markov hit a Tampa Bay Lightning player after the whistle. And the first person over there was Steve Stamkos getting in the face and like starting a scrum with Markov. And I was super impressed with that, because Stamkos is seen as the goal scorer, like the Sidney Crosby, like the guys who you don't get in those kind of scrums because you don't want them getting hurt. But he, being the captain, stood up for his player and didn't think twice about doing it and went up against a tall defenseman. And I thought that was huge. Hats off to him. Like, that really impressed me, and I really like that about Steven Stamkos. Basically taking why he was given the C and putting it to good use.
Damn straight. And Steven Stamkos has something. Well, he has a lot of things, if you ask me. But he has something that Crosby doesn't. Crosby's built like a normal person. Kind of like, in a similar vein to Mariano Rivera. Not to continue with the cross-sport references, but some people are built like actual normal people. Crosby and Rivera, 2 of them, 6'1" or so, 180, 190 pounds, and them. But Steven Stamkos is a large man. Right. Steven Stamkos is 6'4", 230, and like built and like cut. So Steven Stamkos should be a person who inserts himself into a scrum, even if it's just a face wash. Because, listen, I wanna hang out with Stamkos, except for when he's angry. Because, guys who outweigh me by 100% and are taller than me, I don't want to fuck with them. I just don't. I'm gonna lose. I don't want to lose like that.
I mean, this is okay. So when I was in high school, when I played high school hockey, at the time I was probably 5'10" and 145, 150. So I'm not. I'm skinny as fuck.
Yeah.
But like
We're rails.
I was never afraid to go in like after the whistle if somebody was going on my goalie. I would have absolutely no problem putting a stick in his back, pushing him down, maybe giving him a face wash, shit like that. Like that, when I think of a captain, that's the kind of like qualities I see. Somebody who, no matter what the size and no matter who he's going up against, is going to go defend his players. And to see a star player who nobody wants to see injured, especially him after breaking his leg and was out for so long, go up there and do that without a second hesitation, like that's qualities in a captain that I want to see, and I wish my team, which is why I like David Backes so much, because he's the kind of same way. But again, Backes is absolutely freaking huge. So I mean, not the same thing, but it's the qualities that I like to see, and I like to see captains standing up for themselves, especially standing up for their team, especially in playoff games. So I just wanted to give my hats off to Steven Stamkos for that.
All right. Well, let's come back to the Western Conference, since we're halfway through. Now, I want to say one more thing about Colorado, and then I want to move on to the Anaheim-Dallas series.
Okay.
But my final thing, Colorado, is Nathan MacKinnon. All right. I don't like to make overarching statements, especially when I say all you have to do is look at this one thing and it tells you everything. I hate those. But for this particular season, go look at Game 1 of the Minnesota-Colorado series and watch Nathan MacKinnon. And you will see, A, why he was chosen 1 overall, and B, why he won the Calder. Right? I know he hasn't officially won the Calder, but come on, folks, he won the Calder.
Right.
3 assists in 22-34. He saw 4.25 minutes on the power play, no PK time. 3 shots, a penalty, a +3. And he was a force to be reckoned with. I thought perhaps that the Colorado Avalanche, I don't know why I need to say the whole thing, but I did, were gonna really visibly miss Matt Duchene. But Nathan MacKinnon, I think that he's gonna be just another one in this really fortunate line of super mega, pantheon type stars that we've been getting over the last decade or so. And it started with Crosby, and most recently it was Stamkos, and now we've got MacKinnon. The dude just got old enough to get a driver's license. Right? He's just old enough to go fight in Afghanistan. He's not old enough to drink. Well, he is in Canada, but
not in the US where he plays.
Right. I don't know what else to say. Just go watch that film. Just go watch him. Oh my God.
I did not get to see MacKinnon play that much, in that game, because obviously I was, more enthralled with the Blues game. However, I did see on Twitter that a bunch of the hockey writers, the first one that pops in mind is Nick Kostanica, thank you. I couldn't think of his name. Kostanica I think it was him, put out a tweet saying, Nathan MacKinnon's game tonight is the prime example of why all awards must be turned in before the season. Because he would win the Calder unanimously if he doesn't already. And so, from what I heard, he just played an absolutely out of his mind game. And again, exactly, for being 18 years old and just playing out of his mind in a playoff game is just ridiculous. And I mean, I always talk about how there's an 18-year-old lighting it up in the NHL, and I'm 21. What the hell am I doing with my life? But I mean, he's the kind of guy that performs at a level that makes people think that.
Yeah, that's the thing is we will all go through this at many different junctures in our life, unfortunately, after high school, that is.
Right.
Yeah, after high school, because you're in college and it starts during college. You gotta not compare yourself to Nathan MacKinnon. You just gotta not do it. I gotta not compare myself to Sidney Crosby, Andrei Kopitar, and Jamie Benn. I just gotta resist that urge. And the connection, folks, is that we're all born in 1987. Yeah, right? Like, that's not a good idea, right? Right, Jake?
No, it's really not, but I think you could ask yourself that question as a way of admiring what they're doing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, you start going down that path and it's just bad.
When I was 18, I was learning how to masturbate with my other hand.
Going with the Ghost Rider approach, I like it.
Alright, well, speaking of Jamie Benn, let's start talking about Dallas Stars and Anaheim Ducks. Now, we all know, coming in, Anaheim Ducks took the first game. But, sir, did you know that the Anaheim Ducks scored the first 4 goals?
I did know that. But I don't know how they did that because I was not watching the first half of the game.
That's alright. I will tell you how they scored these goals.
Alrighty.
By being bigger, faster, more determined, and hungrier than Dallas.
Okay.
That is the absolute truth because these guys came out and they took it to the Dallas Stars and they said, hey, you know what? You don't have a fucking prayer. And then for some reason, they were up 30 minutes in and they took the foot off the gas. And yeah, the Jamie Benn goal was a bit fortunate and well, not that, let me rephrase that. The Jamie Benn goal was fortunate in that it was a post that went right to Ben.
Right.
He didn't even have to move. He was able to corral it and send it back into the net. Right? And Skibauer's goal was also, pretty fortunate. But that's not the point. The point is that this was a tale of 2 games. First half of the game was all Anaheim and second half was all Dallas. We said on Tuesday that we believe that Anaheim's gonna take this series rather easily, and they still might. Still might. But who has more confidence coming into game 2, Jake? Anaheim or Dallas? The game started 4-0 and it ended 4-3.
I mean, Dallas could probably take away some positives, but at the same time, it's Anaheim also knows, okay guys, we were out there 4-0 and we just take our foot off the gas. We don't do it again and we'll beat them 4-0. I think it all depends on just who has a tougher mental game, in the sense that who can stick with that mentality the longest. If it's Dallas that's going to be able to say, oh, look, we came back 4-3, we can beat these guys, then they're going to win. But if it's Anaheim saying, we were up 4-0, we just can't let them back in this game, then I think it's Anaheim. That being said, I think Anaheim's is much easier to say, oh fuck, here we go again, and Dallas is going to be the very easily saying, here we go guys, we got this. So I feel like Dallas is much easier to maintain than Anaheim's is.
Oh, sorry.
If that made any sense whatsoever.
Yeah, it made sense. Sorry, I was burping, so I put myself on mute.
No, that's fine. But yeah, I was fairly impressed because of what I did see of the game. I was at a bar, but I saw Dallas score their 3rd goal, and so I really paid attention after that. But yeah, it looked like that Dallas was humming along at the end of the game, and Anaheim was kind of caught back on their heels a little bit.
Couple of interesting factoids. Sergei Gonchar, Eric Cole, and Sean Horkoff all played 10 or 11 minutes in this game. Alex Goligoski played just under 29 minutes. This was a regulation game.
Wow.
Trevor Daley played 26 minutes. Regulation game.
Wow, Goligoski's channeling his inner suitor. Jeez.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know what to say. I mean, I guess this is pretty exemplary of the Dallas Stars in 2013-14, where if you're hot, you're going back out there. You're going to sit for 20 seconds and then, hey, it's time to get back out there. And if you're not, you're parked on the bench. Your only job is to not give up a goal and give the hot guys a break.
Yeah.
That's not sustainable.
No, that's how you tire out your guys real quick.
Meanwhile, now I know you didn't get to see this game, but I thought that this game was also exemplary of something we've seen a lot in the game one so far this playoff season, is that one team comes out ready to play and one team does not.
Yeah.
Now, and this was the same thing. So I think that if we see a Stars team that's more focused, then we might get to see a series. I don't think that we will, ultimately. But I think that if the Stars are able to come out, we should see a quality series regardless of its length.
Yeah.
I'd also like to say one more thing. Is there a better team with a worse goaltending situation than Anaheim right now?
No. No, I can't. Anaheim's goaltending situation is awful.
I don't get it either. Like, what happened to Jonas Hiller? When did he become a schlub?
In the last few games of the season. He went like 0 for 3 or 0 for 4 or something like that. And then so they're like, alright, we're just gonna throw in not Anders Lindback, no, we're gonna throw in Frederik Andersen. And then Anderson goes in there, and there's even talk of making Hiller the third string so Josh Gibson can come in.
Yeah.
And
How
that's
crazy
just like,
is that?
That's how you ruin his career, is by throwing him into the NHL playoff fire and telling him to just fend for himself.
It worked out for Ken Dryden.
Yeah, I mean, but that was years ago.
That was then.
Exactly. But I mean, think about it. Goaltending has changed so much since Ken Dryden. I mean, the fact is they still have to stop the puck, but I mean, like, the complete style of play, like how fast everything is, like,
yeah.
It's a totally different style of goaltending than it was back then.
Certainly.
And so I think that that's how you ruin a guy's career, is by throwing him into the NHL fire and telling him to fend for himself.
It's insane. It's absolutely insane. But you know what was also insane?
What?
Game 1 in the first battle of California.
I didn't watch any of that game.
I only saw the highlights.
I haven't seen the highlights yet, but I mean, from what I heard, Jonathan Quick was awful. Joe Pavelski was being the shark that he is, and that it was just an overall amazing win for the Sharks to get that 1-0 series lead.
Yeah, the Sharks won 6-3, but they were up 5-0. So the closeness of the score belies the true closeness of the quality of play. And I saw the highlights, and Niemi let up some real softies, but again.
But that's been Niemi down the stretch, as apparently he hasn't been playing very well.
No, not at all. It seems as though this game was a lot of table setting for the San Jose Sharks, is that they are aware of that nobody really believes in them.
Uh-huh.
People are expecting them to get bounced because they're the Sharks, and that's what they do. Nobody's taking them seriously. Nobody is talking about the fact that Joe Pavelski popped 40 goals this year. When was the last time somebody popped 40 and he wasn't a national icon? At least for that season, right? Did he not have one of the best Olympics by an individual that we've seen for an American? Yes, he did. He was perhaps our best forward overall. That's saying a lot, because Kessel almost won the scoring title.
Right.
The Sharks look like they're playing with chips on both shoulders. And again, I'm just judging this by the couple of highlight packages that I was able to see. But you can sometimes tell when a team itself is digging into the ice with their skate just a little extra.
Right.
All right. Do you have anything to add, or do you?
I mean, it's just from what exactly, like I said, I haven't seen the highlights yet, but from what I was reading on Twitter while I was watching the game, is that the Sharks just dominated the game front and back, and it looks like that they just kind of got a little lackadaisical in the third period, and the Kings were just trying to play for pride, and they ended up getting a couple of goals. But yeah, Sharks dominated the game from first whistle to the last whistle, and it's just, I mean, this series is all about the Sharks proving how good they are, and the Kings are trying to say, wait a second, we actually are going to be this good. And I still think it's going to go 7 and be an absolute frickin' war between the two. But I think the Sharks really came out and made a statement in game 1.
Oh! Oh, Lucic, what is wrong with you? Oh, Lucic, I didn't catch which wing he did this to, but Lucic from behind gave a vicious upward chop into the nuts.
Oh.
Oh, that's fucked the fuck up.
Oh, Milan, that no good, no good.
They've got to say something real bad about your mama to even make you think about that.
Well, did you see, quickly going back to the Blues Hawks, did you see, Quenneville grab his sack in the game?
Yeah, he made like Michael.
Yeah, he got a $25,000 fine for that. I thought that was funny.
That's all. Only $25K for pulling a Michael Jackson.
Yeah, it's worth it.
Well, yeah, I figure if this was 15 years ago, I probably still would have been 100,000, and that would have been a much larger sum in that day's money.
Yeah, I don't know, maybe.
Well, it's just that Michael A was alive and B was still, whatever. It doesn't matter. All right, so last thing about the Battle of California. Something dawned on me while I was watching the highlight packages, and it was that the LA Kings this season may simply be out of gas, and they may be past their window. And this is why. You talk about a guy like Mike Richards. What did he do this year? Not a whole hell of a lot.
Not a whole lot, yeah.
All right. He had 11 goals and 30 assists. All right. Jeff Carter had a Jeff Carter season. Andre Kopitar had an Andre Kopitar season. And Quick had his kind of season. But let's think about how much hockey that these guys have played and how the underside of the team is not stepping up. Now again, they made the playoffs in the West. All right, that's saying something.
Yeah, it is.
But the Kings are being pulled ahead by the top of their talent, as most teams are, and the underside of their talent is not putting in much or if any offense. Ironically, Trevor Lewis and Slava Voinov scored, but it's not the point. If they cannot get their goal scorers to get on fire or their underside to start supporting offense, the Kings might be out in 4 games. Because you know who is getting all of that? You know who is getting full team effort?
So is the Sharks.
That's right. And Antti Niemi has already proven that a mediocre to above average goalie can win the Stanley Cup.
Yeah, that is very true. Because I think that's what the playoffs really test is not necessarily how good of a team you are, but how good the entire depth of it tests how good your entire team is more so than how good your stars are.
Yes.
And that's what it's all about. Is like that. I mean, again, I'm just going to go back to the example that I know the best is the Blues game. Is that Adam Cracknell, who is a guy who just came up for maybe the last 5 games of the regular season, scored his first career playoff goal to get the first one. Tarasenko, who has been a big part of the Blues, got his first playoff goal, and Jaden Schwartz, who has been again a big part of the Blues, who had a great up-and-coming year and is going to show how good he is in the next couple of years, had his first career playoff goal. And then Alex Steen nets the game winner, and he has had playoff goals. But the reason why the Blues won is because their bottom 6 were able to step up and support the front 6. And that's how you win games, is having a complete team win more so than just the stars stepping up and doing it.
That, and may the Schwartz be with you.
Yes.
Okay. Well, moving on over to the eastern side of things. Sir, which series would you like to start with?
Well, I think the one I know the most about and be able to talk the best about is our upset special.
All right, let's do it.
The Columbus-Pittsburgh game was a fantastic game. I watched up until probably about 15 minutes into the second period, and then Claire came over and we watched a movie. But
did you actually watch a movie?
Yes, we did. We actually watched The Conjuring, and it was fantastic.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But
I think I know what you really conjured.
No, we legitimately watched The Conjuring, so you can stop with your sexual innuendos all you want. But just the stretch of those 5 goals in a matter of like 3 minutes or something like that was playoff hockey at its best. It was absolutely a whirlwind. It was awesome. I loved it. I loved it. I just want to start off by saying, the first goal with Brandon Dubinsky's behind the back pass, finding Jack Johnson wide open in the slot for him to just rip and pass Fleury. That was great. And I just love Paul Martin standing there. It might have been Paul Martin or Brooks Orpik, one or the other, just standing there at the post, looking down at the guy, the Columbus Blue Jacket, get up. And then his back completely turned to the slot, which is where he should have been. That goal is purely on Orpik or Martin or whoever was out of that post, just not paying attention to his slot where he should have been. I loved it. It was great.
Dude, have you seen the GIF of Dubinsky all over Crosby?
No.
Somebody made a GIF of, and I'm gonna try and pull up. Somebody made a GIF of Dubinsky doing all kinds of dirty work on Crosby all game long. There's 4 highlights.
Oh, that's awesome.
So, why don't you tell us a little more about your thoughts on the series? I'm going to try and pull those up.
Well, it was exactly what we talked about in the last podcast, is that the Columbus was going to come out trying to prove themselves, and Pittsburgh was going to be a little bit caught back on how well they could hang. And that's exactly what happened. The Columbus Blue Jackets stepped up and were playing fantastic, and the Penguins were caught back by it, and they weren't expecting it. I mean, granted, the Pittsburgh Penguins ended up scoring again and ended up winning it 4-3, but I definitely think that there's a lot more for Columbus to take away from it than Pittsburgh can. And I think that Columbus is going to make this a series because they're going to keep hanging around, and Pittsburgh's going to be like, what the hell do we have to do to get these guys to stop playing? I mean, they're going to be like the Columbus Blue Jackets are going to be like the freaking Energizer Bunny, just keep on coming back for more. Even when they get beat to shit, they're just going to keep coming back. It's like, come on, I bet you can't do it again. That's what I think of when I think of the Columbus Blue Jackets, is this team that just is not going to take no for an answer, a team that's just going to keep clawing back, fighting back, and that's why they're going to win in 7, is because they're going to be able to do that.
All right, well, I can only find one. It was supposed to be one super GIF, but what I sent you in the chat, I'll have to do, and it'll give you a nice idea of what Crosby is going to be going through over the next week and a half.
All right.
You are spot on, though. Everything that you're saying is exactly what we were talking about and what we saw and what we can reasonably expect moving forward. The Columbus Blue Jackets are the perfect matchup, at least entertainment-wise, but also probably skill-wise, or team construction, rather, to take on the Pittsburgh Penguins. They can hang with these guys as long as they stay in their own heads, the Columbus Blue Jackets. As long as they don't get outside of themselves, they're going to be just fine. And we are going to see a team, an entire team, like a Pac-Man coming up to a marble, just wrapping the huge mouth around that penguin and taking a big old bite. And you're like, ah! That was a weird bit of imagery, but I'll wrap up my point of view on this right now.
Okay.
It really sucked to see how it ended.
Yeah.
But I think that we're going to see a very highlight reel worthy series, which isn't necessarily a good thing because the way Dubinsky scored, right? That was a highlight reel. And the way that Derek McKenzie scored on shorthand, that was highlight reel. And we're going to see the Penguins, probably Malkin, probably Crosby, do similar things. They're going to dipsy dangle and make your jaw drop.
Yeah.
This series is going to be so much fun to watch. And if the Penguins make it through, there's going to be a new color on them. It's going to be purple. All right. But you know, there's been one team so far. Now, as we speak, the Bruins and the Red Wings are playing their first game, which means that everybody has played at least one game.
Right.
But there has been one team who came out and decided to stay home instead. And I don't know who it is, but, oh wait, I'm actually really familiar with them. I think they're called the Philadelphia Flyers. Did you see them last night? Nah, you were probably watching St. Louis and Chicago.
I saw some highlights.
Yeah.
I saw that 4-minute power play was,
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. I mean, normally I would feel bad. I don't like to win like that, but yeah, we'll make an exception for the Philadelphia Flyers. Oh, they can't hang with us, and they know it.
Yeah, that was a bad start to the series for the Flyers because the Rangers just had their number all game. I mean, it was a battle. The third period was really all just the Rangers needed.
And all gloating aside, and I'm just hamming it up just to be silly. In all seriousness, the Flyers didn't have a good game.
Yeah.
There's no reason to expect the Rangers to be able to waltz over the Flyers for the remainder of the series, however long that it goes. The Flyers started out, as we all know, shitty, crappy, smelly.
Yep.
Right? And they finished the season on an absolute tear, winning over 2/3 of the games the rest of the way. And Claude Giroux basically had a 60-game season, and he had like 75 points in that time. I'm sorry, I don't have the stats right in front of me. This series is going to be tough for both teams. The Rangers have a bit of an edge, but it's really just a bit of an edge.
Right.
And I suspect that in game 2 on Sunday afternoon, the Flyers are going to be playing their absolute hearts out. Absolute hearts out. And you know what? Sometimes that's the kind of effort that you need to put forth just to feel good about yourself, and it usually gets you a win.
Yeah, I definitely think the Flyers are going to bounce back. And I think the Rangers might be taken aback by it, but I think that game 2 is going to be a lot better than game 1 was.
Flyers only have one shot on goal in the third.
Jesus. But I mean, in the first, that's all they needed because they scored on the first shot of the game.
That's true. And it was a crazy deflection. And that's what happens in hockey sometimes. Look, all kidding aside, I do believe that the Rangers are going to sweep this series, but I don't think it's going to be like, why were the Flyers even in the playoffs? It's not like that. This is a bad matchup for the Flyers. If they were playing the Blue Jackets, for example, or if they were playing the Red Wings, I think that the Flyers would at least be able to force a game 6. But against the Rangers, a team they just don't match up against well. Anyway, let's move on to the next series. We have Montreal and Tampa Bay. And sir, as we speak, Montreal is up 2-0 late in the third.
Yeah, well, I already talked about Steve Stamkos, him stepping up in game 1. I really like that. But, I mean, we're pretty much really seeing what happens when a team whose biggest asset's out of the series. And that's what happens when Ben Bishop is not in the lineup. I mean, he's a serious Vezina contender. Mm-hmm. And when he's not in the playoffs, yeah, I mean, you're seeing what happens. Just the team breaks down in front of them. And I picked Lightning in 6. And I said that the Lightning could still be able to do it even with Anders Lindback in, but 2 games in, I mean, Montreal could sweep if Ben Bishop doesn't get in that net soon.
Oh, totally. Absolutely totally. And I mean, this is sort of one of those bracket busters. And not to borrow an NCAA term, but like this is a real bracket buster in that, oh man, I totally got this wrong. And not only did you not get the winning team correct, but the team that goes on to win, in this case, the Montreal Canadiens, are much better than we were giving them credit for. This team has come together as a solid unit, and they have the best goalie on that side of the bracket between Tampa, Montreal, well, obviously Montreal, Detroit, sorry. I'm just reading it in order the way I see it. Between Boston, Detroit and Tampa and themselves, I believe that Price is the best goalie of them all. And how do you overcome that when your goalie is Anders Lindback?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know I don't know. I don't know. Price and Rask, I still think Rask is a better goalie than Price, but at the same time, I'm only saying that because we've seen what Rask can do and Price has been good for longer. So, I don't know. Maybe not. But yeah, I definitely think that Montreal, has not been given nearly enough credit that they should have.
No, I thought that they were a rather soft playoff team. And Tampa, sometimes, man, you get caught up in how well a team is doing during the regular season. And I think that's what happened to me with LA and Tampa in particular. And what you said before is that the playoffs test the totality of your roster. In particular, the depth of your roster. And Tampa in a couple of seasons may be setting all sorts of records. But right now, they're not there, and they're missing their most important piece.
Yep. I agree.
All right. Have you seen any of the Boston-Detroit game?
I have not. I was eating dinner, and then I came on the podcast, so I've not been able to catch any of the game.
That's all right. I haven't caught much of the game either. I was eating dinner, and I got sucked into the Tampa-Montreal game because it started first, and they didn't have a lot of stoppages, so they didn't have a lot of commercials.
I do want to say that Montreal-Tampa game, series, has been a lot more entertaining than I thought it was going to be.
Yeah, remember what I said on Tuesday? I thought it was going to be rather boring. Nope.
Yeah, nope. I mean, I just think that's more of a testament to playoff hockey and how exciting it is as a whole. But still, I think it's very good. It's been a very fun series so far.
Where do you think Tampa's going to be in a couple of seasons?
I think the biggest thing depends on if Ben Bishop, if we figure out if he's a real deal or if he's a one and done. If he's a one and done, they're going to be back middle of the pack fighting for that number 2-3 seed in the playoffs. For as good as their offense is, they just need to find that goaltender. But if Bishop does remain to be that Vezina goaltender, I could see him being number 1 seed in the East for a few years.
If this talent continues to improve, they could, I mean, I don't mean to overstate it, but I'm just in terms of the overall depth of the talent, they could be the Blackhawks of the East. Not that good, alright? But, they pulled Lindback.
Oh, so who's going in?
Hold on, I'm on the team's website. I'll pull up the official roster. Kristers Gudlevsky, the standout for Team Latvia.
That's the thing. I would say, if it turns out that Ben Bishop is not the real deal, this kid could be.
Yes. Yes. It also could turn out that he's already had his career highlight. But
yeah, it could be, yeah.
Hey, but how special is this kid, huh? How many different leagues has he played on? How many different teams has he suited up for this season? Holy shit.
I think it's like 4 or 5.
Yeah, I think it's 4 or 5, and he's only 21.
Yeah. I mean, that kid's a workhorse.
And he has got a killer mustache.
Does he? Is his Movember game unreal?
Well, whenever the picture was taken.
Yeah.
Alright, but I was looking up, I was trying to get to the stats for the Lightning, and so, who do you think led the Tampa Bay Lightning in points this year? It is not Stamkos.
Right, because of his injury.
I will give you a hint if you want it.
Yeah, give me a hint.
He played 81 games.
81 games. Palat.
Attaboy!
There we go, look at that.
How many? How many points?
55.
59. Attaboy!
Oh, there we go.
Look at you.
Thank you.
Yeah. So, that's points. And let me scroll.
Oh, here you go. Now, when was he taken?
Oh, well, hold on. Let's just do one more. 2 guys tied for the team lead in goals. One of them is Stamkos. Who's the other?
And it's not Palat. It's not the
Correct.
San Luis.
Phil Palat. But Palat was 2 off the mark.
Okay.
The high water mark was 25. Oh, and it's 4-0 Montreal.
Yep.
And Palat had 23. But
Okay.
so before we get to where Palat was drafted, I just want to point something out. Tyler Johnson, rookie, 82 games, 50 points, nearly evenly split, 24 and 26. All right. Alex Killorn, not a rookie, but a sophomore. All right. 82 games, 41 points, 17 goals. Victor Hedman finally had his breakout season, at least offensively. All right. 75 games, 55 points, 13 goals. Oh, Guzlevsky, he kicked it in. Kucherov, 18 points in 52 games. His first goal was a knockout blow to King Henrik. Alright, and then Callahan, who's the guy I was looking for on this list. 20 games, 11 points, 6 goals, 5 assists.
Dang.
Alright? So, look at all this depth of talent. And I know Callahan may not be there next year, but all this growth, all this sustainability from Filppula, who has another 4 seasons after this, to Stamkos, who's not going anywhere, Johnson, Palat, Killorn, who are still on ELCs. Right? And Bishop, man oh man. Man oh man. I don't think that there's anyone over the age of 26 in this lot.
No.
So where could they be in a few seasons? Dude, I'm telling you, they are one trade, one signing, or one of these guys taking that next leap. And they could be a Blackhawks style team of these.
Yeah.
That's so cool. That is so cool. All right,
That's
so
the definition of drafting the right way.
Yeah.
Being young talent.
Yeah. All right, so before I cheat and I look at where Palat was taken, I'm going to guess because you mentioned it in the first place, he is taken in the 6th round.
I believe it is the 6th round.
So was that right?
It's somewhere like the 6th, 7th round, but he's like, of the rookies, he is 5th in the rookies in points. And he was taken in like the 200 rounds or something like that. Like the 200, where around there.
208th overall, 7th round.
7th round, okay. Yeah. So that's like getting quality. That's a quality pick for them.
And there's a lot of rumblings that he should win the Calder, and which is ludicrous, but only because Nathan McKinnon.
Right, exactly. It's just, but yeah, to see a guy that was drafted so late be a star already in the NHL is awesome.
I'm kind of out of topics, run out of words.
Yeah. Same here. I mean, like I said, I haven't watched enough of the Boston Detroit series to give enough. But yeah.
All right. Well, let's tap dance and let's talk a couple of silly things. Let's go back to our respective hometown heroes and talk about what we were doing while we were watching the game. I'll go first because I chose the topic. Damn it.
All right.
So at game started at 7. At 6 o'clock, my buddy Chris picks me up and said, "Hey, let's go get some beers and snacks." I said, "Okay." We went to the local distributor. We got some blue chips. We got some really good salsa. And also we got some Stone, vanilla stout. And another one we got, I don't recall the name. Oh, it's called Betrayal's Red. Betrayal's Red.
Okay.
It had the consistency of a porter, but it had the finish of an ale. Do you know what I mean by that?
Kind of, but not really. I'm not that big of a beer hipster, so I don't know a lot about
Hey. Just 'cause I'm in New York does not make me a hipster. Okay.
No, it's funny because my buddy from New York we nickname him the beer hipster because he just drinks a bunch of like not brews, micros.
Microbrews.
That's what I meant.
Yeah, well, I don't know how big or small Betrayal is, but I know that Stone is as regular as it gets.
Okay.
But it's for a different crowd. It's for a crowd that likes a dark, heavy beer.
Yeah.
So the Stone was a vanilla stout. It was a mostly dry beer that tasted like vanilla, and it tasted like a cross between a cream soda and a Guinness.
Interesting.
It was very interesting, except on the drier side of it. And what that means is that your mouth feels a little cottony.
Right.
Right? So with the Betrayal, the way that was across, like a porter was that it was slightly, in my estimation, a little watery, but a little watery in terms of its fluidity. See, it flows in your mouth and down your throat really easily.
Okay.
And usually those beers have a big, bold, strong flavor, which this did. But the way that it finished like an ale is that it was a crisp finish. It was sort of like a Budweiser, like it's almost non-sensational. It finished and you go, ah.
Right.
That's what happened with this Betrayal.
Okay.
Right? And so we had a pint of each of those. No, we had 2 pints of each of those. And we had 2 regular beers, one by Victory and one by Hebrew, previous to it. So we had like 4 or 5 beers in the span of the Ranger game.
Okay. That's very nice.
What we did during this game was we kept saying, do you notice the way that they're playing? Okay, do you notice that Brad Richards keeps pulling it over the line and waiting for Stefan to join him before dumping it in? Do you notice that they're running McDonough? Do you notice that Ray Emery's head is slow? And we were going totally hockey nerd on this. Just every keen observation and half drunken observation we could point out to one another. And at one point, it felt like we were challenging one another to see who could make the next keenest or keener observation. It was so much fun. And then obviously, and this is my last point, obviously when the Rangers scored, we jumped for joy so high we accidentally spilled some beer.
Nice.
Yeah. Tessie, you got a little buzzed last night, huh? Yeah, alright. So, what did you do during the Blues-Hawks games? Because that lasted much longer.
Well, so, I'm back at home for for Easter break. Mm-hmm. And so, right as the game started, my family and I were sitting down for dinner. And so we had 50-50 burgers, which is where you take ground beef, mm-hmm. and you put it in a bowl. And then you put bacon through the meat processor.
What?
And then you put that in the same bowl and you mix it together so it's half beef, half bacon. And then you make them into patties and then throw them out on the barbecue.
Pause. Please tell us more about the kind of beef, its fat content,
I have no percentage. Idea.
What about, how was the bacon cut? Was it thick cut? Was it?
I don't know. I didn't know.
Oh. Can you describe what the sensation of those 2 pieces of meat between your fingers is like when you're making the patty?
No, because I didn't make the patty.
I shouldn't have paused you. Please go on. Tell us more about the burger. I don't even want to hear about the game at this point. I want to know what this burger is.
The burgers are so good. Oh, it was like a food orgasm in your mouth. And then, of course, you had to throw the cheddar cheese on top of that, and then throw a little barbecue sauce on top of that. Oh, it's glorious. So I ate that for about the first 5 minutes of the game, and then I proceeded to sit down on my couch. And over the course of the game, I had 3 Budweiser Black Crowns, which is the heavier version of Budweiser. So it's like 6% alcohol, ABV, what I want to say.
Alcohol by volume, so.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, ABV. And so that was nice. And then I had 3 Spotted Cows, which is a beer that is up in, that you get in Wisconsin. And it is it's a lighter beer. I believe it's an ale, I want to say. But I mean, it's a good beer. I don't know any like the flavor words or anything like that.
That's alright.
But it was very good.
Can I just give you some advice when it comes to describing flavor and
Yes.
how something is?
Yes.
Just describe 2 things. What flavors you picked up on and what textures you picked up on. That's it. You don't need scrumptious. You don't need emotion. You don't need, observation just in terms of it looked like a disc or whatever. You just need to describe, what your senses told you on flavor, aroma, and texture. That's it.
All right. Well, I can basically say anybody who's had the beer, I've never heard a bad thing about this beer. So there's that. And so I did that while with my dad. I was on the couch. My dad was on the chair next to, across the room, and me and him were just talking, about the game, what we thought, hockey, all that good stuff, and kind of bouncing ideas of what we thought, how we thought the teams were doing and stuff like that. And it was a lot of the same thing. It's like, how has the Blues defense been this bad? We need to stop dicking around with the puck and actually start firing at a net. Good thing happens when you throw it at net. Just stuff like that. And it was a blast. I loved it.
Yeah, it sounds like it. It sounds like an absolute blast.
Yeah. Because, I mean, it's, the fun thing is it's always fun watching hockey with my dad because he's obviously the one that got me into the sport. And so me and him growing up, and we've watched countless Blues games together. So it's really nice now that all of us are older and now that I can share a beer with him while we watch the games too and just talk about it. Because the unfortunate thing is he can't really do that now that both my brother and I are out of the house. So it's really cool to be able to do that with him again. And like whenever we come home, just do stuff like that and watch it.
Sounds wonderful. That sounds absolutely glorious.
It is. It's fantastic.
You know what else is sort of glorious? The Habs are up 2-0 over Tampa. It's official.
Damn.
But there are 9 minutes left in the third in Boston, and there is no score.
Oh, well then we might have to put in so that way I can get my Bucci overtime challenge in.
Do it.
I love Bucci overtime challenge. I want a bucket. I want a hat so bad. Those hats are so thick.
All right. Well, I think that's a good note to end on. So,
alrighty.
My friend, it's been an absolute pleasure.